Hey everybody, my name's David,
And I'm Dylan.
and we're known as the Wet Rats on YouTube. And by that, I mean nobody knows who we are, but you do because you're watching this video. Today we're here to talk about Twin Peaks: The Return. This is, I guess you could call this a spoiler cast. I don't know exactly what to call it, discussion, analysis, but we're just here to talk about The Return, kind of how we felt about it, maybe talk about maybe what we think happened, talk about, I think I've been reading a lot of what other people are kind of suggesting and theories and stuff. Dylan actually hasn't read any of that stuff yet, so we'll kind of get his thoughts fresh. We'll just talk about it. I guess before, go ahead.
I just can't believe they were dead the whole time.
Yeah, I can't believe they were dead the whole time.
I knew it was purgatory. I called it.
I wonder what Twin Peaks fans would think of the ending of Lost. Because I think the problem with the ending, I don't want to talk about Lost too much, but I think Twin Peaks fans would get it more.
Yeah. They're into more like
because I will say, even though I have seen some people definitely disappointed with it, I feel like most people that, if you've been in with Twin Peaks for this long, you kind of knew what you were getting a little bit with the ending.
Yeah. I kind of thought about it a little bit too, just by sure thing of like, I think Lost had to, like, again, not talking about Lost, just in general, Twin Peaks more or less. Lost kind of had to like try and keep its main audience because it was on like a main network.
Yeah.
Where I feel like Twin Peaks getting to be on like a premium cable, they kind of just got to do more or less what they wanted to do rather than worry about an audience.
Yeah, that's true. And just in case there were any like normal fans watching it, I think episode 8 was just like, hey, if you're trying to watch this normally, get out.
Yeah, because like, I mean, if people ask me if they should watch Twin Peaks and stuff all the time, and I'm just like, watch the first 5 minutes, and if you're not into Twin Peaks like by the first 5 minutes or so, like, you're just not gonna like this show.
Yeah, definitely. I don't even know. I've been trying to even think about how do people describe Twin Peaks? Because I would say, it's a murder mystery, but not really.
I always describe it as a murder mystery soap opera, is how I always described it. But season 3 is not as soap opera-y as the first 2 seasons. It definitely deviates.
Yeah, definitely not. And it's not as murder mystery either.
No, not at all.
What, like, if I was to write a sentence to try to sum up this whole show, I don't even know what I would say.
But I more or less think that if you were on board for 1 and 2, I don't have to try and sell you for 3, because you're probably, if you made it through that far and still enjoyed it enough to check out season 3, you're probably into it. You're in for the ride.
Yeah, that's true. That being said, what did you think of season 3?
Let's see, about episode 1 or 2, I was a little iffy about it. Like, it was just really, really slow, which I should have, it's David Lynch, I should have, anticipated it. But I think for me, because it'd been a couple of years since I, like, first watched Twin Peaks. So I was, like, really anxious and excited to get back to seeing all these characters, like, I know and love and can't wait to see what they're doing. And just those first episodes starting so slow, it's just, like, I just want to see all those characters. So I think part of it just made it even worse, because it's just, like, I just want to get to all these characters and see what they're doing and see what's going on. But once I got past that sort of phase, then I started, like, really, really enjoying it. And then the past, like, maybe 4 or 5 episodes is when I, like, not that I wasn't before, but then I started, like, really, really loving it. Because that's when I checked out Fire Walk With Me and realized, I probably shouldn't have sooner, because it made all this stuff make way more sense.
Yeah.
So I overall really actually enjoyed season 3 more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, no, I pretty much have mostly the same reaction as you. Like, I will say, towards the beginning, it wasn't that I didn't like what was happening in the new season. I liked it a lot and thought it was super interesting and well-directed. It was just that same reaction of, like, I did kind of want what I had liked about the first 2 seasons back.
Yeah.
It just kind of wasn't there.
You wanted to see your characters, and they're showing this new information, and you keep wondering, like, this is interesting, but I don't know what I'm seeing yet, and I kind of just want to go with what I'm familiar with first and dig into this stuff, but...
Exactly. You have to, like, mentally tell yourself...
Yeah.
To stop asking, where's Audrey? Where's Cooper? Like, if you can stop that and just watch it as it is, I think it's much more enjoyable. And it's weird, because I even like stuff that plays with your expectations and, like, knows, like, hey, you probably want this, but we're not going to give it to you yet. I normally like content that does that, but sometimes the new season was a little infuriating with that.
Yes. I will say, though, that I don't think I was disappointed with anything the characters were doing that they brought back, though. I think I thoroughly enjoyed where all those characters ended up.
Absolutely. I was so pleased with them. I love Bobby as a cop.
That's
great.
what I was going to say. It's like, I love Bobby as a character. Like, he starts off as a shithead, but he actually becomes a really good character. And seeing as a cop is just like, this is so cool. I like seeing Bobby as, like, doing
Yeah,
well.
and Bobby and Shelley not ending up together, I think, makes
Yes.
a lot of sense.
It does.
I will say I was a little scared about Ed and Norma not being together because I was like, that one doesn't make sense. They should be together, but
Yes.
they got together. So
They did, and it was great.
that was the
a
one
good
where I was
moment.
like, I don't like where these two ended up, but then
Also-
I ended up liking it.
Also, every single one of those people aged incredibly well.
Yeah, that's true. I don't. Yeah,
Because-
except maybe Andy. Andy gained a lot of weight, but you know,
Sure, but Andy still. I mean, he doesn't look terrible.
no, he doesn't look terrible.
Again, and Andy was never like a hunk in the first one, anyways.
That's true.
But David Lynch himself kind of aged pretty well too. So maybe it's just like David Lynch knows a secret we don't know about. He's let all the Twin Peaks
Maybe
people in on
it's
it.
that meditation, man.
Yeah, he's like, hey guys, I plan on doing this thing in 25 years. So here's my secret, and like stay looking good.
Except for the people that didn't make it that long.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's crazy that the log lady was filming that while she was dying. I didn't realize. Well, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's kind of. I didn't know it was going to be a thing.
Yeah,
So,
for
that's
sure. And I knew that actress had died, but I didn't really realize that like she was dying like almost immediately before recording that. So it was like,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I was
that's-
wondering in the show why like they kind of focus on it so much because like I like that character all right, but like she wasn't like a huge character, and the show kind of like makes a big point out of her death. And once I realized like, oh, that's because she died like immediately
Yeah,
after this,
afterward,
like,
yeah.
and she was dying like of cancer. Like it's like, oh, this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think it's so crazy she agreed to do it. Like he's like, hey, I know you're dying. We're going to write that in your character if you still want to be in it. And she's like, okay. So
Yeah.
that had to be
Yeah.
really weird because I couldn't help but thinking about that when she feels her scene when she's dying because like that had to be kind of like some real self-aware like kind of like I'm talking about this as a character but it actually is like happening in
Yeah.
a weird way. That had to be so weird as an actress to like have to do that.
I wonder if that'll be Daniel Day-Lewis's next role. Is like he dies at the end because he's such a good method actor.
Oh god, that'd be messed up.
It's been a couple years since she passed away. I think it's not too
Yeah.
early for that joke. Anyways, I think kind of how we were talking about the series overall is also how I felt about the finale, where I liked everything that was happening a lot and thought it was super interesting. But at the same time, I was kind of wanting so many other things.
That's why I think that the last episode, particularly just the last episode, like part 2, threw me for such a loop because at the part 1, I was like, I should have known better, but I was like, oh, everything's actually wrapping up. Everything kind of more or less makes sense. Like, and I was expecting
Yeah.
the things they had, the loose ends, were going to tie together just in part 2. And then like part 2 happens, and like I should have known this. Like, of course, why? Of course,
Yeah.
Lynch isn't gonna be like perfectly well ended. That's not his style. So I was like, fuck.
Yeah, that's something I want to actually talk about because I've seen a lot of people, and now I should say really quick, now that I've had some time to think about it, I liked the ending a lot. We'll talk more about the ending here in a bit.
Oh yeah,
like what we think it meant.
I wasn't disappointed with it at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed with. Well, we'll get back to it. I just want to say real quick. I've seen a lot of people kind of be a little bit split on it. Like I think most people that are Twin Peaks fans do like the ending, but a lot of people are kind of like I liked it, but maybe I was disappointed with aspects of it. But I've also seen people that are saying like, well, it's David Lynch, duh, like this is what he does. Which on one hand I totally get that, you're right. But on the other hand, I kind of feel like, does it being David Lynch, is that enough of a defense to like have 30 minutes of a character driving down a road? Like
Yeah.
just because if any other show did that, any other director, everybody would have a riot in the street. But everyone's
Yeah.
like, it's David Lynch, he gets
It would
away
be
with
like,
it.
It would be like if the season finale or the series finale of Game of Thrones is just like, spoilers for people who don't watch Game of Thrones or whatever, Jon Snow and Daenerys just hop on a dragon and they're flying around for like 30 fucking minutes. Like,
Yeah.
and then like nothing
But
happens
in like an
the end.
alternate reality. It'd
Yeah.
be more like if those characters were suddenly in like New York and they got in
Yeah,
a cab
a
for
cab.
30 minutes. And you'd be like, what the hell is
If
this?
they did it for Game of Thrones, I'd be on board. That's so fucking left field that I'm okay with that.
Like, I don't know. I'm a big David Lynch fan outside of Twin Peaks now too, but sometimes I do wonder, like, as a David Lynch fan, do sometimes we let him get away with a little bit too much? Because there is 30
Yeah.
minutes of characters just driving down the road.
Yeah. Have you seen Mulholland Drive yet?
Yes, I love Mulholland Drive.
I love Mulholland Drive, but like the second part of that movie is basically like what happened in Twin Peaks. Like you just
That's
get
true,
a
but
bunch of stuff
I
going on
think part of the
yourself.
difference, though, is... And again, I ended up liking the ending of Twin Peaks a lot, but I saw somebody point this out, where it was like... They said that like they really like surrealist art, too, but with like Mulholland Drive, like it's only a couple-hour movie,
Yeah.
so it's not like... I mean, don't get me wrong, the ending of that movie is crazy, and I couldn't tell you what happens, but it's like a small compacted story, so when it goes crazy at the end, it doesn't feel like there was a lot of stakes in the characters, Twin Peaks we've been watching for 3 seasons now, so
Yeah.
when you're looking for all these threads to kind of tie together, not that we wanted everything to be answered like directly, but when you're somebody who was kind of just hoping for some basic answers, and you're just given this, I can understand why people
Yeah.
are like pretty frustrated by that.
Don't get me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to defend it at all. It's just I'm not infuriated by it. It is kind of just like, oh, I don't know. I mean, like, it felt like you had the opposite problem of some people where they have so much they want to answer and they don't have enough time. Like Lost, and again going back to Lost, they have so much to answer, but they don't have enough time and episodes to shoot and do it. And then David Lynch somehow got too much time, so he's like, I guess I'm just going to do this in the last episode.
Exactly.
I don't have
and that's
anything else.
what, like, some of the side stories don't even end up wrapping up, and I thought that was really weird, because I totally get Cooper's thing being the way it is. That makes sense to me. Especially now that I've been reflecting on it. But, like, I think the character's name is Becky, Bobby and Shelley's daughter.
Yes,
like,
that was one of the ones I thought about too.
Why didn't that story wrap up? That didn't matter to the stakes of the rest of the show, or at least not that we know, unless there's some crazy theory out there.
Well, that kid died, isn't it? Because that's the guy she was dating was...
The what?
Didn't her boyfriend die? Shelley's daughter's boyfriend die?
In the show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, we believe so.
Right, well, I mean, he disappears. So I'm assuming that they're just like, well, that's done with now. I don't know. I feel like that one I was a little bit... But the more I thought about it, I was like... I guess we more or less kind of get that because she's like, "Hey, come down to the thing, and I'll buy you a pie." I was almost like she's moving on, kind of thing. I think in a little
I guess
bit of
so.
a way. It wasn't perfect.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I just even like small, like I didn't need like a big scene, but even like a small mention of like maybe Bobby sees Shelley and is like, "Hey, how's she doing?
Right?
How's your daughter doing?" And she's like, "Oh, she's doing okay." Even like small little mentions here and there, because like there's a great. I don't need like big things. I love the moment when the other Dougie, or the other whatever copy Tulpa is sent to be back with his family. It's a quick moment, but it's just enough where you're like, okay, I'm satisfied with that storyline.
So this made me wonder. So it made it more or less seem like the other Dougie Jones was kind of a piece of shit, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this one's probably going to be not a piece of shit because he's actually cloned from Cooper.
I believe so. I know some people theorized that maybe the original was a copy of Cooper and it was part of his plan, but I don't think so. I think the original was a copy of Mr. C, or Bad Cooper, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah,
because
his name was Mr. C.
The whole point was that he wouldn't get sent back.
Yeah, because like that when that happens, like the one-armed man like makes a reaction as if like, oh no, we got trapped. So I doubt Cooper would do that if that was the case.
Well, he says he was manufactured for a purpose. The whole purpose seemed to be so that the Bad Coop wouldn't have to go back in, which is what he was wanting to avoid. Yeah. So it seems pretty clear to me that it was him. We should also really point out, before we get too much into what we think happened, almost nothing is actually known or factual. So anything we say that may sound like we're saying it as if it's a fact, we aren't trying to. Because I've seen a lot of people in the subreddit, like, they're saying, like, I figured out the truth about this. And it's like, hey, there is no truth based on what we know. Like, everything's a theory. So anything we say is just a theory.
So
we definitely don't know.
So now if we're going to start getting more nitty-gritty and talk about things loose ends not getting tied up, Audrey, like, definitely has the biggest, like, what the fuck happened there.
Yes, absolutely. And that is one, like, because the ending itself I've thought a lot about, and now that I've read some other people's stuff, I think I have a bearing on what it is. But Audrey's, I don't really even have an idea.
So, for what I'm thinking is, as we kind of find out, and I don't know if it was just an offhand statement or for, like, maybe if you read this and no confirm, but I thought they're basically confirming that the one kid Shelley's daughter was dating is Mr. C and Audrey's son, and not actually with the other guy.
You mean Richard Horton?
Is it? Wait, no. Is it Richard? I thought his name was Billy. No, not Billy.
We
Billy's her boyfriend. Richard is, Richard, the shitty kid. Yeah, Richard Horton is actually Mr. Seasonhurst's kid. Because he said I'm 25 years her senior. She didn't marry that one guy 25 years ago.
No, Richard Horn is the kid.
Yeah, but isn't he, did they kind of, did you not get the same impression that they kind of insinuated that was Mr. C and Audrey's kid?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, okay, so what I'm trying to go at that point is, it maybe after he banged Audrey or whatever, like, he did some weird shit with her, and she's just, like, stuck somewhere now?
I could definitely buy that, because that's definitely what happened to Diane. Like, he raped her and, like, took her to this other place. Yeah. So that's definitely possible. And I do think, as much as I don't necessarily understand what happened with Audrey, I do think that she's not in a coma or in a dream. I think that she's probably in, I don't know if you want to call it a dimension or a lodge or whatever. But
Sure.
like I think she's in
I don't-
another space.
I don't even think dream more or less is a wrong term for it either, because the way they kind of treat dreams more or less is another dimension in some of these things.
That's true. That
So
being said,
I don't think she's like dreaming. I think she just is stuck in some sort of state of something somewhere.
sure. Because I think that, I think you're right. Dreams, the way they are in the show, aren't like traditional dreams. Because I know some people have said like, oh, so maybe the whole show was just a dream. I don't think so in the way we traditionally think of dreams.
I agree. Yeah.
In these sort of dreamscape environments, that's more possible. But like, I don't think like one of these characters is asleep having a vivid dream about everybody else that they'll wake up from and be like, oh, none of that was real. I was just dreaming. I don't think that's the. It could be, but I don't think that's what it is.
I don't think so either.
Partially because I think that's a lame. I just think that'd be boring if that was the case.
Yeah.
The big wrench in the Audrey thing is the Roadhouse scene, because it pulls into question everything else that's ever happened in the Roadhouse.
Yes, because that's what I was wondering too. Is because you see some people who more or less talk about things, but the things are kind of related to Audrey in a way.
Some of them are, but then because that's what I was wondering, if maybe
Because I don't
the
think the
scenes
Roadhouse
where
in total. I think some Roadhouse scenes they show us are Audrey related, and the other ones are the actual Roadhouse.
that's what I've been thinking, is maybe the scenes where they talk about Billy or whoever, because all the characters we see in those scenes, as far as I can remember, are characters unrelated to anything else.
Yeah, we don't know who the heck they are.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
there's
that's
that one scene where that
probably
girl
it.
goes on the ground and screams that was nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's my one beef with season 3 as well. Like one of my only more or less complaints, not even real complaint, is there sometimes, because like that actress, she's in other things. So sometimes when characters are in things, I can't tell who's an important character and who was just a really big fan of the show that gave a cameo. I feel like that really kind of made me screwed up on like how relevant some things were.
Yeah, because it's funny, because I thought when I saw Matthew Lillard on the show, I was like, oh, he must have been a big fan, because why would David Lynch put him in the show? And then I found out Matthew Lillard's never even seen Twin Peaks, so it's like David Lynch just wanted him.
Yeah. Like
Also, on a quick side note, I'm glad I didn't look up the cast before, because if I would have found out that this was a show, and I love Michael Cera, but if it had Michael Cera, Matthew Lillard, Jim Belushi, the guy from Anchorman, the bald guy, if you would have told me that those people were in Twin Peaks, I would have been like, shut up, that sounds stupid. But you know what? That all worked.
It really did. Like Michael Cera's. If they had continued to bring Michael Cera back, it would not have worked. But the small that you get Michael Cera, it's totally fine.
But you know what? They kept bringing Jim Belushi back, and I really liked him.
No, I love Jim Belushi's character. Jim Belushi's character is great. So
I feel like I saw so many people that are being like, if nothing else, season 3 made me think Jim Belushi was okay.
yes, those two guys are awesome. Those are two of my favorite new characters.
Yeah, the Mitchum brothers are great.
Yeah, they're so great.
Yeah, and before we get into the main ending, Audrey's the big one. Is there any other like kind of major storylines? Not that I can really think of.
That's the one I
guess.
can think of. Yeah, that's the main one.
Because everything else kind of ties into the whole Cooper thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to begin to talk about the actual ending. I guess before we get into the last episode, I do want to talk about one of my favorite scenes on the show. Actually, two really quick. Obviously, one is Cooper waking up. I think one of the greatest moments I've ever experienced in anything ever. Period. I know people have talked about how like David Lynch doesn't want to give fan service and he wants to mess with your expectations, and that's totally true. But at the same time, one of the best moments in Twin Peaks is straight up fan service. It is like, you've been waiting for this, you've been waiting so patiently, here you go. And granted, they kind of take it away almost immediately after, but it's such a good moment. It's just, I like clapped because I was like so excited. I'm not the kind of person that does that over stuff. But there's that, and I was such a big fan of the scene where this random British character beats up Bob with a green glove. That whole sequence I thought was amazing.
That was really good.
It was ridiculous, but it was so much fun. And I love that. I can't even remember that character's name. Everybody's gonna
Jimmy.
hate me for that, but
isn't it?
Yeah,
Jimmy.
I think so. I just love that it, because I saw some people complain that it's the show about all these characters, but none of them even take down Bob. I loved that. I love that it's just this random guy with his green glove.
I also love that David Finch is really into basic names for guys, like Dale, Jimmy, Bob, Mike.
Bob is the best one.
Yeah.
Also, I will say another thing, because I know people have said David Lynch, he wants to give you things that are the opposite of fan service, kind of. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'm really glad something I was so worried about that David Lynch might do is murder any of these characters,
Yeah.
and that didn't really happen. I was so scared for some of these characters. When Mr. C shows up at the police station and Andy's in the parking lot, I was like, oh no, Andy, no.
Yeah. I think having,
Or especially when Diane, as the Tulpa, is going up to see Gordon and Albert and all that, and she has the gun, I was just like, well, this scene's gonna suck.
I guess like killing people off more or less isn't his style. It's kind of more doing more or less murdering, but in like some weird way. Like you're stuck in a doorknob now.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just glad that didn't happen.
Me too.
And I was so worried
really
it was going to happen too, because when the fight starts with Bob and Bob like starts attacking and like that kid immediately goes down and the blood starts coming out of his face, I was just like, oh no, this kid sucks. Like it reminded me so much of the scene earlier when I'm going to call it Judy, but I don't know if it is, but the thing comes out of the glass box and murders the two people in the room. It was framed just like that, where it's like pecking at their face. And I was just like, this kid's screwed.
I like how the whole thing's about destiny, people fulfilling a thing and going to a thing. I like how the path to that kid being in the place in be was basically putting a dude like brain damage for the rest of his life. Like he had to be able to go to jail. That poor guy.
Whatever.
I mean, all he did was just not want that guy to bang his wife. I mean, that's a pretty reasonable request.
All right, let's get into the real finale. Or anything else before we do?
So what part was when Cooper goes to Firewalk with me? Was that in the final part 1? Or was that in part 2?
Episode 17, part 17.
Okay. So that part was really, really cool, but I made me really worried for a second that they were going to do the whole none of that other stuff happened bullshit.
Yes.
And I'm really
Well, I think some people still think that happened. I don't. But I think a lot of people do.
Because I think Dale tried to have that happen, but I think the things were like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Also,
I agree.
Quick side note: I love how trying to save Laura becomes such a big deal, but everybody kind of forgets that they also killed her cousin.
Yeah, whatever. She wasn't important. So here's the point where we really like anything we say is total speculation. Like, I just in case anybody's listening and is like thinking that we're talking about fact, we have no clue what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
So I guess if you want to go first, because I kind of have all these other fan theories too. So.
I mean, my theories are pretty straightforward. So I think, unless I'm totally mistaken, it seems like where they're at when he was with Diane was more or less on the same road we see Mr. C go to is on when he has that wreck.
Yeah, seems like it.
So I feel like they're both equally trying to accomplish something on that road, and I'm not 100% sure even what that was. I mean, not clearly it was trying to go to some sort of different thing. But did they ever try and explain more or less in the show in the context of what Diane and Cooper's plan was there? Or did they just say, we're going to these coordinates?
I don't even think at that point in the show they seem to know what their plan is. I think that they are just like, I remember 430, we went 430 miles. We don't know what's going to happen on the other side of this line, but we're going to go through it. Right. I don't even know if they knew. I don't know if they had a plan, really.
Because, I guess we've seen Cooper go back in time more or less because we've seen with the Fire Walk With Me thing. So I don't know if that was his plan to do something, but it seems like his plan was to go find Laura for some reason, but I don't know. I can't possibly think of what. And I think it more like it shows he more or less either went to some different alternate dimension or went back too far. I don't know. I can't. Personally, my like I said, my theory is pretty basic because I can't even begin to think of what possibly happened.
Yeah.
It seems like at the end Laura wakes up and almost has a realization that I know what this place is. So maybe she was in some sort of purgatory kind of, not to bring it back to that kind of thing, but some sort of thing when she went somewhere else, she was went to a different place and then she kind of blocked out all his memories and it kind of just got awoken for her in some way.
I think so. I think that's kind of my interpretation. And I will say my interpretation isn't totally my own. It's been mixed with some other things people have said. One thing I will say that I think is interesting before I get into kind of what I feel like happened. I think it's cool that the show not only leaves up to people to kind of figure out what happened, but also lets you kind of either pick a happy ending or a sad ending.
Yeah.
I choose to interpret kind of a positive one, but I've seen a lot of people saying it seems like these people are going to be stuck in this purgatory in this infinite loop forever and ever. which is a totally valid interpretation. And normally I don't mind dark endings. I love the ending of season 2 with Bad Coop being the one out. But in this case, I chose to go more positive just because I feel like, I don't know, I like the idea that these characters do finally accomplish what they're trying to do.
Because like she does have that memory get back, but it doesn't mean anything bad's going to happen to her anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Because she just sees the house. And like, speaking of like seeing the house too, like what the fuck is up with Laura's mom?
Yeah, that's something we didn't get into too much. So definitely, what I think and what I've seen most people kind of sort of agree on, but this is another one of those things that I think people just sort of take it as a fact when it's never really confirmed in the show. But it seems like Judy is inside Laura Palmer, or not Laura, Sarah Palmer.
Sarah Palmer, okay.
When Judy came in is debatable. A lot of people are saying that possibly in episode 8, when we're back in the 50s, we see like a weird frog bug fly into a girl's mouth at the end. Some people are saying that might have been Sarah, and that might have been the bug of Judy getting inside of her.
Okay.
I don't really have an explanation for that scene,
so,
or if that's Sarah. I think that Sarah Palmer was Sarah Palmer her whole life, and then after the stuff with Bob and Laura, I think maybe Judy came into her after that.
That would make more sense to me, because otherwise it would seem weird. It seemed too coincidental that she had Judy inside her, and Bob, someone who I think was looking for Judy, just is like,
yeah. Well, that's why I think Judy came in later. I think Judy wants to be reunited with Bob.
Yeah, that makes way more sense.
There's also a phone call earlier in the season that some people say sounds like Sarah Palmer with a weird voice effect. I don't know if it is, but Mr. C gets a phone call from who he thinks is Philip Jeffries, but definitely isn't Philip Jeffries. We don't know who it is, but it says, I missed you in New York yesterday, the day after whatever the figure in the box escaped from, who I presume to be Judy. I missed you in New York yesterday, but I want you to come back tomorrow, or you're going to come back tomorrow into the lodge because I want to be reunited with Bob again. So I think that's Sarah Palmer. Now that it broke out of the box in New York, I think it went to Sarah Palmer.
Sarah Palmer. That makes sense.
Looking for Bob. I think that the Mr. C character isn't totally controlled by Bob the way Leland seemed to have been.
Right.
And that's why I think Bob does want to be reunited with Judy. Although Mr. C is also looking for Judy for some other reason. I don't really have a theory for that necessarily. Maybe he wants to kill her. I don't know.
So you think like there's still a little bit of like Mr. C's own prerogative, not just pure Bob?
I think so.
Okay.
Because when he's in jail, in the federal prison, he looks in the mirror and sees the image of Bob, and he goes, "Oh, good, you're still with me." So it seems like he wasn't even totally sure if you know. I think that he is in the driver's seat.
So he took the influence from Bob, but kind of like suppressed it and kind of just made his
I think so, because
that's cool.
at the end of season 2, when we see the How's Annie scene where he smashes his face in the mirror, he's crazed. He he seems like kind of more like how Leland was when he was possessed by Bob.
Yeah, he does seem like more Bob there, and the Mr. C does not seem like Bob.
Not at all. So that's just my thoughts on it. I think that
because technically Mr. C is not, because technically Mr. C's the doppelganger. So he could would make sense that he's not purely Bob, because he is the doppelganger of Cooper. So he still have to have a little bit of his own personality. So that makes sense. That's cool. About that.
So what I think happened for the most part is I think when Cooper goes back to try, and also I wanted to point out that I also believe what a lot of people are saying, that time is not necessarily linear in this show.
Yeah.
Like, things can happen in any time, and they happen in all time. For example, I think when Bob is killed in episode 17, I think that means Bob is just dead now. Not forever. Like, I think he still did the things he did, but I think that in another reality, Bob is also dead. I think he ceases to exist, not be erased from history, but so, like, in the other dimension or whatever, other reality, I don't think Bob will be back.
Right. Yeah.
So I think after they kill Bob, Cooper decides he wants to change things by trying to save Laura Palmer. He goes back, and I think he does at first succeed, but Judy is upset about that because Judy wants Laura Palmer. And that's the scene where we see of Sarah Palmer smashing the picture of Laura.
Oh, okay.
I think Judy uses her powers, if that is Judy, which I believe it is, I think uses her powers to remove Laura from the timeline, which is what we see Laura gets ripped away.
Right.
I think Judy basically creates her own reality and traps Laura in there as a different character. Laura doesn't even know she's Laura. I think when Diane and Cooper go to that 430 mile mark, they are realizing that they're about to cross into that other reality with the goal of finding Laura Palmer.
Okay.
I think when they get there, though, it gets a little bit more complicated than they thought. Maybe they even forget kind of who they were. I think Diane definitely forgets who she was.
It definitely seems like she forgot who she was, yeah.
And I think Cooper didn't necessarily forget, but I think starts to doubt it. Like, especially towards the end when they go to the house, he seems like he's not sure if he is actually Cooper or if he's supposed to be Richard.
It almost even looks
now.
like he's looking for almost another rift, too, when he's on that street.
Yeah.
He has that feeling like he did before, where he's like looking for that kind of thing. He just like keeps like he's like trying to find something, like as if he possibly walks through it right, he'll get back to the actual point at that house he wants to be in.
Yeah, well, and I think something to note too is like Cooper definitely seems to be acting differently. Some people have suggested that he almost seems to be acting like he's good Cooper and bad Cooper, now mixed.
Right.
I think, to me, and my interpretation is that it's still the good Cooper, but he doesn't necessarily know. Like, he feels like he remembers all this stuff, but maybe he's either doubts it because maybe he's been in this place for a while now, or
it could be a thing, too, where, because he does act a little bit more abrasive, but it could be a thing, too, where he doesn't see this place quite as a reality because he already knew what he's going in, so he kind of acts more, irrational because he's just like, well, this is all inconsequential, I'm leaving this place anyways or whatever.
That could be. And maybe his, like, when he is trying to be a little bit more helpful, maybe because he's not totally sure, so he's like, okay, I don't think this is real, so I'll be a little bit of a jerk, but not a total jerk, because what if it is? Yeah. I think that the fireman, or the giant, or whatever you want to call him, is the one who helped Cooper know that this was going to happen. He's the one who gave him the clues 430 and Richard and Laura, which I think helps Cooper, A, get there, and B, remember who he was.
Yeah.
And I also believe, because some people have said, well, if Judy created this reality, it was kind of bad design to have Laura Palmer hidden in a diner called Judy's.
Judy's, yeah.
I think that was probably the fireman that did that. Like, he was, like, giving Cooper a signal. So when Cooper finds Judy, they drive back to Twin Peaks, but then Cooper realizes, like, something's wrong. Maybe I am Richard. Like, I think he starts having that breakdown of, like, I'm not sure. Yeah. But then Laura Palmer, or Carrie Page, does seem to remember her reality. She screams, all the lights in the house go out, and we cut to black. Yeah. I think that that's her not only remembering what happened, but shutting down that reality because it basically was a lie in her mind. Yeah. That's why the lights go out, the electricity goes out, which I believe means that she wakes up back in her old reality and the events that we had known them happen as we knew them.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
I think it makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So like, it's positive, but not. It's just she goes back to how things were rather than like. So it goes back to how it was, and Cooper doesn't necessarily succeed in by erasing it, which I think is okay because I think
so, but I also think that they still, because it does go back to the way things were. I think that they still beat Bob.
Right.
And I also think that possibly because they shut down the reality that Judy made, I think they possibly even defeated Judy in that moment.
Okay. Because I definitely think, like, of course they defeated Bob, because as far as I see it, is if he failed, the timeline ends exactly where it was right when him and Gordon leave. Because that would be, like, the point where they went to a different reality. So I feel like everything at that point absolutely would have to just happen like that if that happened. Which I think makes a lot of sense. That's cool. I hadn't thought of, like, of course I didn't think about it that intensely like that, because, to be fair, too, I also just finished the season, like, last night. Yeah,
well, and also, like, that's a little bit of what I thought, supplemented with a lot of what I've read from other people.
Well, I think part of it was, there's a couple episodes, because I'd watched the season 3 pretty spaced out. I kind of forgot about the frog thing going in there.
Yeah.
And I was still confused for most of the season what the heck Judy was, till they, like, flat out said what it was.
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't even think about Judy being all these other things. So, like, I definitely now want to go back and watch it again with all these things in mind. Because, like, after you said it made a lot of things throughout the season make way more sense.
Yeah, I'm very excited for a rewatch of it.
Yeah, rewatch is going to be great.
I don't think it's like... I know some people have said, like, I think this is a puzzle and all the pieces are there and we'll put them together. I kind of don't think that's the case, because I don't think there's going to be a day where somebody cracks it and is like, I know the actual what happened. Like, I don't think that's ever going to happen. It's not going to be like,
hey, watch episode 23 first and then watch episode 2. And then, it's like, I don't think it's going to be crazy like that. So... I mean, I'm sure David Lynch had some things in mind, but I definitely don't think it's something where, like, David Lynch did some, like, Machiavelli kind of puzzle put together kind of crazy.
Definitely not. So. But no, it's been interesting. Like, I've had such a good time this week, and this is one of the reasons I think it's a great finale. I can't stop thinking about it, and B, I've had so much fun reading other people's thoughts and interpretations of it. it does remind me a lot of back when Lost was popular. Like,
yeah.
talking about fan theories and like what I said is like what some people kind of think, but there's so many other different interpretations and theories.
It's one of the reasons I really like Game of Thrones a lot, because it has that same sort of element. And if you'd asked me a year ago, I never would have thought that you'd be like, hey, how'd you think about Twin Peaks and how do you think about Game of Thrones season? I'd be like, I think Twin Peaks had a better season than Game of Thrones. But it somehow happened. Right now I'm thinking somehow Twin Peaks is going to end better than Game of Thrones. Because I thought for sure Game of Thrones would be the first television series in history that kind of had... I'm sure there'd be some people who didn't like it, but it was going to have a pretty well-received ending, because it ended on a certain thing. But I don't know. I guess people aren't super great about Twin Peaks. But still, I feel like I watch Twin Peaks like, this is a really well-thought-out, not rushed, not forced ending to a show. And I think
that's something that's been great, too, is I've seen a lot of people saying, like, hey, if nothing else, props to Showtime for letting this happen.
Yeah, it's totally awesome. Like, I feel like I can't remember... the last time I watched a TV show, it was just like, this is the set ending it had, and it didn't feel rushed or anything. They just got to go for it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, really nice. I've seen a lot of people speculating that maybe Lynch was attempting to set up for a season 4. Do you feel like that may have been the case?
If anything, I think he would do another, like, maybe a short movie or something, and that's it. I don't think he would do another season.
I don't at all. I think that this is the end of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And if he did do another movie, I think it would be similar to Fire Walk with Me, where it was not moving forward.
Exactly.
I don't think it would be... I think it would be in the past.
Fill in some more of the pieces, but it wouldn't be like, hey, here's exactly what happens. It would be like, okay, here's the pieces we weren't seeing. Like, I could totally see something maybe where it's like, we're following Audra, maybe even. Like, not even the other stuff. Like,
sure, yeah.
But I don't think we're getting to season 4. I think that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of people that are like, I feel like this confirms it. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
I just can't imagine.
I'd watch it for sure if it happened.
Yeah, I'd watch it, but I don't feel like I need one. I feel like after I watch it,
I don't either. I feel like I'm good. It's like, again, there are some things that I think were disappointing. I would have loved just a couple little loose threads that were just somewhat addressed.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, I just think it was like a pretty perfect season. Like, sure, it was slow in parts, but I don't know.
I was a little sad that Sheriff Truman didn't come back.
Very bummed about that.
I was sad. His brother was really good, though. I really liked his brother. So
I love what is with when Cooper tries to shoot him.
Yeah,
the bad Cooper. The hat.
I think they're trying to make you think like he got shot in the head.
Well, it worked because that's what I thought at first.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh no!" But nope, just a weird hat trick.
It was like one of those like dumb little like shooting galleries where you shoot the target and like some dumb thing happens.
It was such a serious moment. It was like the silliest thing I've ever seen.
It was really bizarre.
But yeah, I think that's about it. If anybody's listening, let us know what you thought about it too. I think that this is the kind of show that I'm so fascinated to see other people's interpretations and thoughts. I think, and they're just so different. Like, some people think it is a dream, some people think it's different realities, some people think it's different timelines, and there's so many.
And this is what I think is satisfying of something obviously Lynch would never want to do, is like, he doesn't want you to end a discussion of Twin Peaks. So now by ending it how it is like the conversation's never going to end. Twin Peaks still gets to kind of live on forever now again. That's what
I've seen a lot of people talk about too, is because like everybody knows it's a well-known fact that he didn't ever want to reveal the killer of Laura Palmer.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen people pointing out, they're like, this is his version of that. Like, he finally got to do another mystery and not tell you the ending, and he found it. Like, he did it. But I, if nothing else, I think it's a good ending just because so many shows end and it just wraps everything up, and you're like, okay, that was a cool ending. It wrapped everything up, and then you don't think about the show the next day or the day after that. This week, I know it's still fresh, so that's part of it, but I have like nonstop been thinking about this ending and what it could mean. And like day to day, I've even somewhat changed. Like, you know what? Maybe this actually happened, or like I'll read a new theory and I'll be like, that might actually have happened.
And I thought I kind of had a pretty good grasp on what happened. Then you tell me that stuff, I was like, wow, I didn't even think it was like that. I didn't even go that deep into it. So it's just like, I mean, people are going to be doing analyst probably stuff from this for like a long time, like coming up with cool theories and like even things like, oh guys, did you guys see this? It's like, oh shit, how did we all miss that? I think it's awesome. I'm really satisfied with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's generally been the reception.
Yeah.
I think the people that have been disappointed are kind of what we talked about earlier, where you just wanted a little bit more, maybe. But I've even seen some other people kind of say, like, I was disappointed at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, that was perfect. So I think even people that were disappointed will come around.
The only perfect follow-up I would want him to do is I just want a short 30-minute epilogue where everybody in Twin Peaks is just living a completely regular, normal Twin Peaks like life. They're just doing the Twin Peaks thing. It's like that's all I want.
That would be nice, because that was the one thing that, like, again, I know David Lynch doesn't want to give fan service,
Yeah.
but I did miss some of those moments. Like,
Yeah.
I was really hoping to see a scene of actual Agent Cooper back drinking coffee
Yep.
with Hawk and Andy and being like, Andy, what have you been up to? Oh, I have this son. Like, I just love just a little vignette of that.
I was so mad because like maybe they did do it and I just missed it. Did they do donuts this season? I don't remember them eating donuts.
No, I don't
'Cause,
remember
like,
them doing that either.
On the Entertainment Weekly cover when Twin Peaks Coming Back, they have, of course they were going to go, but in front of David Lynch they have like a whole bunch of donuts. Like, hell yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute, you lied to us. You didn't bring donuts back.
Actually, if we're talking about short films we want, did you ever watch the Comic-Con David Lynch message?
Yeah.
I want more stuff like that.
Yeah, that was great.
Just put David Lynch in front of a camera and have him talk about weird stuff. Like, I'm down for that.
I'm glad he's getting sort of like, I hope we get more stuff from him now because he's getting kind of old and getting up there.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we got him to like kind of, more attention towards him now again. So hopefully we'll do more crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, again, if nothing else, we got basically 18 hours of a new David Lynch movie. Like,
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
that's insane.
I will
But
say,
yeah, I think-
when
go ahead.
in the part 2 finale, when I first saw the diner before it showed the signs, I thought it was going to be the diner from Mulholland Drive, and I was like, oh my god, is he going to get this fucking crazy with it? But thank god he didn't, because that would have been too deep.
That would be nuts. I definitely, early in the season, I did see some people speculating, like, is this going to start tying in
Yeah.
to his other stuff, which
that'd be insane.
would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be.
Anyways, I think that's about it.
Yep.
Let us know what you guys thought. Like, I love hearing people's theories and stuff. And if you want, you can also subscribe to us and watch. We do other stuff related to movies and TV shows and stuff, so you can check that out.
Please do.
That's all.
How do we do a Twin Peaks ending for this?
That's what I was trying to think. I don't know. I got nothing. Oh, we got to play a song because that's
we play a song. Oh yeah. We'll play a song as we're going out, and then you can scream like Laura Palmer, and that'll be it.
I was gonna. What about James's song that everybody loves that came back?
God, I actually like James in this season. I hate James in the first two, but I like James in this season.
I like him in the season, but I hate that song so much.
That song's so terrible.
I love that David Lynch doesn't want to give people fan service, but one of the few he did was bringing back that song.
Yep.
Like the one fan service people didn't want.
Yeah, like at all.
But yeah, I guess is that song licensed? Can I have that play in this video?
I'm sure it's not licensed. No one would unlicense that piece of shit.
They'll pay us to use it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a really long tangent to end this.
Yep. Let's end it on how's Annie, because we never found out this season.
That's true.
Maybe next season.
Next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.